All right, guys, welcome to the live. I'm glad you're here. This is my September live. I have not been really up on doing enough lives, and I need to do more of them. I'm glad you guys are here. I hope you guys are here from YouTube as well as Facebook, because I am live on both platforms. I think it makes it a lot easier for people, followers, to see it if I do both at the same time, as opposed to one and then trying to get you guys over there. I've got an important topic I want to cover. First of all, before I get into that, I want to make a quick announcement that we do have the app ready now for Android and iOS. Hope you'll choose to use that. It's a member app. Everything that's in the member section. If you are a member, you can use the app free of charge to access all lessons, everything that you have access to in the member section, as well as other stuff. It's a great app. You're really going to love it. It all works on your either Android or your iPhone. Important to know that if you are not a member, you can join through the app if you decide to do it that way. It's totally up to you, completely your choice. I will be on Monday and Tuesday in Minneapolis, Minnesota. Minneapolis. I don't know why I always go to Missouri when I say Minneapolis, but it's Minneapolis, St. Paul, Minnesota, speaking at the International Association of Canine Professionals Conference for 2023. They've asked me back for a second year. I was there the first year, the first time last year. Had a really great time, met some really amazing people. For those of you who are going to be there, it's going to be a lot of fun. I've got a great speech that I think is going to be very controversial, very no holds barred, like I always do, because I'm talking about the cold hard truth of successful dog training and what that involves. And sometimes it's not pretty, sometimes it's not popular, but it needs to be told, because as you see recently, I've been getting much more back into my roots with shelter dogs. That's the one thing that just makes me really, really happy, is to be able to help a shelter dog. And Janet noticed that and wholeheartedly just kind of jumped in with me again. And God bless her. You know, she's there with me filming these videos. She's there with me when I'm editing them. She's, the rock behind so much of this work that you see. You see me on the surface, but there's so much going on behind the scenes that you don't know. And Janet is such a huge, huge part of that it makes it really beneficial and worthwhile for everyone involved. So because of that, I think I need to be a little bit more in people's faces about the truth about dog training, because it's just not being told. Dog training right now is such BS. It's a complete Jerry Springer show on the internet and I'm not going to get into name calling or anything like that, but the freak show, and I think that should pretty much spell it out, the freak show of dog training, of name calling, accusations, protests, it's all this stuff. And you know what really happens is, while all this BS is going on, what's happening is dogs are dying in shelters. While trainers or social media influencers, whatever you want to call them, are out there flexing their BS, there are dogs dying in shelters. And if you run over to my website, robertcabral.com/adopt, you're going to see a new series that I have dug my heels into, and that is my shelter dog adoption series, where I go into the shelter, I find a dog, and showcase that dog, showcase what the dog knows, what the dog needs, who the dog is, who the dog would be good for, and making a difference for those dogs, because that's really, really critical. Way too much effort is spent on posturing, on your fancy car, your fancy clothes, your fancy techniques, your fancy science language, and all of that is complete BS. I will cover that topic on Monday and Tuesday at my speech, and that speech will be available relatively soon. I don't know exactly when, but it will be available. For those of you asking questions, I will get to questions, but I want to go through my my spiel first. And those of you, I just saw somebody made a super chat. I'm going to be a little uncool and wear my glasses so I can actually see what's going on here. So CJ, thank you so much for that super chat. In my apartment building, there are many dangerous dog breeds. If one would attack, would OC spray stop the attack, or should I carry my gun? Well, pepper spray, you want to use bear spray, because bear spray is more likely to stop it. Now, here's the thing with pepper spray or bear spray. Don't think that once the dog attacks, it's going to work, right? Bear spray and all that is to prevent the attack. Once the dog is on, or the bear is on you, it's too late to spray it. You got to douse when you see that dog coming. That's my advice to you. And the best thing to do, you can shoot a dog if it's going to kill your dog or kill you. That's a legal thing you need to take up with authorities in your jurisdiction. I can't give you information on that, but my choice would be obviously to choke the dog off of my dog or of me or of somebody else. That's my choice. But I digress. I want to get into this thing. What is killing our shelter dogs? This is the real topic here and what we want to talk about. I want to get to the bottom of it. So if we look at the real crux of the issue, that in shelters throughout this country, throughout the world, there are hundreds and thousands of dogs that are being killed every year. Right? Possibly millions. What is killing these dogs? Who is responsible for the death of these dogs? Because it's not euthanasia for the most part. It's murder, right? They're being killed. They're not being the definition of euthanasia is to put an end to suffering, a humane end to suffering. These dogs really are not suffering. They're living. It's not a great condition, but we're not putting them out of a misery of a diabolical disease or of a horrible accident or something that they're going to be in languish and pain from. This is a pain that's caused by human beings, right? First of all, I never blame the shelter. There are some shelters that are blamed. I shouldn't say I never blame the shelters. There are tons of shelters who are not really out there trying to do their best. They're kind of just skating by and getting the dogs in. Somebody comes in, great. And if they don't come in, okay, we're going to kill them. They go out in the barrel out the back. This is the really ugly truth, and a lot of people don't want to hear it. A lot of people get upset with me when I talk about it. But because I stumbled upon it, and because I love dogs, and because I think you love dogs, I think you've got to hear the truth. And that is that breeders versus puppy mills / backyard breeders is what I want to address as the very, very first topic of conversation. A legitimate breeder, the breeders that go through, the USCA, those German Shepherd breeders, the breeders that go through a lot of the Belgian Malinois breeders, and I'm going to get back to them. The Labrador, the good breeders, the breeders that go through organizations, that health test, that check the homes of dogs. Those are not the people at the problem, because what they're doing that's different. I'm going to explain this to you. This is really important. One, they screen the homes where the dogs are going to go. That's really important. They know where the dog is going to go. They check with the person. They make sure the person is capable of that dog. Second of all, they check their breeding stock. They breed dogs that are healthy, that are genetically tested through things like Embark, through DNA testing. Then they check the history on both sides of the dog, the male and the female side. Have there been diseases? Have there been behavioral issues? Have there been genetic issues in those lines that they shouldn't be breeding for? They study this like a scientist to try, and I say the word try, to come up with the best dog possible. Once they come up with that dog, they have a list of people who are waiting for that dog, right? It's not like a used car or a new car where you just go into the dealership and go, I'll take that one, and you walk out with it. These breeders have a list of people that want those dogs ahead of time. And then when that dog is ready, they call those people. Now, here's something that's really important that a legitimate breeder does that a backyard breeder in a puppy mill doesn't do. They stand behind the dog. That means if the dog doesn't work out for some reason, you can't keep it, you move, the dog gets too dominant, or it doesn't have the drives you want for the sport you want, or the dog is not getting along with kids, or you have to move, those breeders will take that dog back and place it into another home or keep it for the rest of its life. I can tell you, as a testament, Tasha, the girl who bred Goofy, I saw her one day years and years ago, and there was a 7-year-old dog she was taking back because the person couldn't keep the dog. It was a Malinois, a 7-year-old Malinois. And I said to her, I said, well, what do you get for that? Does he have to pay you or anything like that? She said, no, that's the dog I brought into the world, and that's the dog that I'm going to see through their life. And that, to me, was such a powerful, powerful statement. Now, there are breeders everywhere doing wrong things. They have the dogs, they put an ad on Instagram, Facebook, YouTube, Craigslist, whatever. And they say, hey, puppies for sale. And, well, there's an old thing called the puppy dog close. Oh, puppy, I want to get a puppy. And it sounds good at that moment, but you haven't thought it through. It's just that puppy's for sale right now. So you go and get that puppy. And now maybe it's going to work out, maybe it's not. But there's a lot to it. Think about this. Think about, you say, there's an ad and it says, oh, a girl looking for a guy. And you go, oh, I'll take her. And you grab the girl and you bring her to your house to live with. What do you think the chances are that you're going to be with that girl 15 years from now? Right? Now, 15 years from now, you and the girl might go separate ways, and that might be fine. Now, it could be a guy too, so I'm not trying to play sexual parts here, but understand what I'm saying. In 10 years, that dog is going to be old, and nobody wants old dogs, right? So you end up with this shelter crisis full of these dogs that people don't want. They want the puppy starts biting, they get rid of the puppy. They get the puppy grows up, they get rid of the older dog. The puppy gets old, it's a dog, it gets sick, they get rid of the dog. There's all these things to consider when you're getting a dog, right? The unwanted dogs is mainly due to a popularity crisis. For example, right now, Malinois are extremely popular. Much to my chagrin, it really upsets me, but Malinois are the flavor of the month. I remember when it was German Shepherds, I remember when it was Rottweilers, I remember when it was Pit Bulls, and now it's Malinois. So you see all these Malinois, and Malinois are not a good breed in shelters. They're just not. They don't do well. They're really high drive. They break down easily. They have thin nerves. They end up messed up really quick, and it's a very unpredictable breed. So you can end up with a dog that will act fine and just start biting. And when they bite, they know how to bite. So you end up with a problematic dog. In the shelters, you'll see these dogs are discarded, and people have an easy time. They'll either come to the counter and say, "Oh, I found this dog. I don't know whose it is. I'm just dropping it off." No accountability, right? And I'm going to really get into social accountability because this is really, really the big thing. We license dogs, but we don't check up on it. We don't check up on dogs per se through recurrent licensing, through training, through testing, through anything like that. And as much as I am so anti-government involvement in everything, there has to be some kind of accountability to this. And I'm going to go really into this hard because what I want to make sure that you understand is that the majority of the blame, the solution lies on educating people. There are stupid, dumb people in the world, complete imbeciles. You can't fix them, right? Ron White said you can't fix stupid. But for the rest of you, I implore you to think about why spending $2,000, $3,000 on a dog, on a puppy, is a better investment than spending $300, $400, $500 on a dog off Craigslist. Now, again, if you're just looking for a dog, you just want a dog to be in your home, you just want a pet, you just want a really nice dog, then I would implore you to go to the shelter. Right? I would implore you to visit the shelter and get a really nice dog. Stormy is a really nice dog. Jojo's a really nice dog. Kodo's a really nice dog. Turk is a really nice dog. Those are 4 dogs that are right now on my page, robertcabral.com/adopt. In fact, can I write that down here so you guys could see that? Let me see here. robertcabral.com/adopt. There's 4 dogs in there that you can look at. And those are just 4 dogs here in LA that I randomly picked. Jan and I were at the shelter. We randomly picked them. There are dogs in every shelter that can be picked. And there are good dogs. Now, you have to ask yourself, is every dog in a shelter a good dog? Is every dog worthy of adoption in a shelter? No, absolutely not. I go to the shelter and I find dogs. I made a video on a dog, and I'm not going to say the dog's name because I'm going to give the tools to the volunteers to work with this dog. This dog is not adoptable. He's a volunteer favorite. He's a powerful dog. He's a nice dog. He'd be a great dog for somebody like me or, Frank Phillips, Oscar Morris, some strong guy to handle who knows the training. But we don't want a dog like that. We want a dog that we can do the sport with. We want a specific breed, specific lines. And there's no shame in that, right? There is no shame in that because I've had rescue dogs. Janet's had rescue dogs. A lot of people I know have had rescue dogs. The bottom line is you should get what you should get, but you should keep it, right? That's the issue. People say, well, why don't you take the dog? That's not fair. You should da-da-da-da-da. Well, I've never dumped a dog in a shelter. I'll tell you where the problem lies. The problem lies in the people who dump dogs in shelters, the people who don't care about their dogs, who don't see the dogs through. A dog comes to my house at 8 weeks old, or Maya, for example, 3 years old. They don't leave this house unless it's in a box. That's it. They come in, they're here to stay. They don't leave. They don't get put in shelters or given to a good home free on Craigslist. I don't do that. If I had to live in my car, I'd live in my car with my dog. That's just the way it is for me. When I commit to something, whether it's a friendship, a relationship, a dog, it's committed. And that's what I think is really important. People don't have that as much. So not every dog is adoptable, and way too much time is spent on these unadoptable dogs. I got a volunteer the other day. It was asked me, I said, oh, can you look at this dog? I don't know why we can't do something with this dog. They want to put this dog down. The dog bit somebody, and I don't think it's fair. So my statement back was, let's look at something for a second, okay? If there's 100 dogs that are in a shelter, and 4 of those dogs bit somebody, right? Because most dogs in shelters haven't bit anybody. They're just unwanted dogs. They're just castaways, cast-asides per se. So if 96 of those dogs haven't bitten anyone, but 4 have, should we kill one of the 96? Because this is the truth here, right? Should we kill one of the 96 who hasn't done anything wrong, who's lived an exemplary life, who's just there through no fault of their own, through a fault of their moron owner who gave up on them? They're selfish, egotistical, maniacal, myopic, stupid, moronic, selfish owners. Should we just kill that dog? Or should we take the dog that's already shown a tendency towards biting and kill that dog? One's got to die. That's it, right? That's what you got to look at. That's the society we live in. So I've got no problem killing the right dogs. I have a problem killing the wrong dogs. Until we don't have to kill any dogs, we should be killing the right dogs. The dogs that are harder to place, the dogs that are perhaps too old, that are too crazy, that have a history of biting, a history of bad behavior, and get the good dogs out. But the more time we spend on these bad dogs, the less chance we give to the good dogs. That's a huge problem. That is so unfair. And it's going on every day in shelters because rescues, volunteers, good-feeling people feel bad for the dog because he's going to die. Because, oh, maybe he didn't mean to bite, or maybe the bite was provoked, and I don't disagree with that. But you've got to give a chance to the dog that's the low-hanging fruit, the one that's easy to get out. Give them the chance. Somebody's going to die. This is a tragedy. It drives me absolutely, absolutely nuts. Now, another thing that's killing our dogs in our shelters is training and medical care, the absence of both. And this is a huge issue for me because you know where I'm going with this. Right? Medical care, this was done by a doctor, a study by someone from Best Friends, and they said the 2 things keeping shelters from reaching no kill, which is something I'll go into on another day, is the lack of medical veterinary care available and training. Now, we know if a dog needs, if a dog has a serious issue, the dog's going to be put to sleep. Okay, that's a humane euthanasia. No problem with that. But when the dog has a behavioral issue, like the dog is just too much drive, the dog is pushy, the dog is jumpy, the dog is a little out of control, what do we do with this dog? Right? What do we do with this dog? And what most of the time happens, most every shelter in this country that I know will not employ a trainer. And I'm going to get away from the term balance trainers, positive trainers, this and that. They will not employ a trainer that will apply corrections in dog training. And this is because of the complete social breakdown of mental normalcy in life. People get sued for things from 30 years ago. People get put in jail. People get their accounts shut down. People get penalized. All this crazy stuff because we never rely on social responsibility. This is the crazy society that we live in, and you're seeing the results of it. You're seeing the results of it in cities where crime is overridden normalcy, where normal people are not safe, where criminals run the streets, people getting punched walking down the street, people getting robbed at their cars, stores getting overrun and robbed. Stores just closing down because they can't stay in business. Go to your local CVS or Save-On, and half the stuff in there is under plexiglass. You got to find somebody to help you. They don't want to help you because they're afraid they're going to get shot. Okay, This is the society that is also mandating what we can do when we train dogs, or is trying to mandate what we can do. God bless the United States that we haven't fallen to the low state that Europe has fallen to. Okay, that we can still apply a correction, that we can still use a prong collar, an e-collar, slip lead, or whatever it is. I always say this: abuse is illegal, and abuse should be prosecuted, but we must define abuse. It's a clear picture. A correction, a pop on a leash, stim on an e-collar, a pop on a prong, a guidance, a redirection of some kind is not abuse. It's helping a dog learn a lesson. It's like a guy running with a football down the sideline. He gets tackled. The correction is go down the other way next time, right? There's nothing wrong with that. Dogs are rough and tough animals. They play rough and tough with each other. They expect us to play rough and tough with them. Giving them corrections, giving them structure is part of the game that they learn to play as dogs. We're trying to create an animal that is not a dog, and it's destroying the species, not the breeds, it's destroying the species. And this is why you have dogs like Rottweilers, Pit Bulls, Malinois, Corsos, all these dogs in shelters overrunning because people get these dogs, they have no idea how they're going to need to train them. They either use way too much pressure or no pressure at all, and the dog just falls apart. And you have thousands and thousands of dogs of these breeds ending up in shelters. Now, if we can do some basic obedience training in shelters, shelter management can, and again, my hat goes off to shelter management and shelter volunteers. Because when I go to the shelter and I see these volunteers day after day, hour after hour, taking these dogs out, caring for these dogs, really, really caring for these dogs, God bless them. Janet said the same thing when we went there. She said, God, these people are saints. That they can do this day after day. These people are saints. I can't do it. I can't. I mean, I don't function well in that capacity anyway. I go in, I do my program, I help them, I tell them what they need to do. They can do it over and over again. That's perfect, right? We're working a system, and that will get these dogs adopted. But the more and more come in other words, we get one dog out, 4 come in. That's kind of what's happening because social responsibility is lacking. You can come in at any time. You could come into the shelter and say, I can't keep this dog. If it's a municipal shelter, they have to take it. Now, if it's a private humane society or SPCA or something, they can say, sorry, we're full. But the municipal shelter can't say they're full. The municipal shelter has to say, okay, we'll take him. Kill the dog in D34, put this one in there. So now, just because a new dog came in, another dog had to die. That dog has to be murdered to make room for your dog coming in. And this is where the problem lies, right? So in shelters, you'll see they do a lot of things like play groups and walking and playing ball with the dog. And, they give them like Kongs filled with peanut butter. And these are all great things. And this brings me to my next point. There's a huge difference between enrichment and training. Enrichment and real life skills. Enrichment in a shelter environment is designed to make the experience of being in the shelter more pleasurable, right? The shelter environment is very stressful for dogs. So we've employed these different skills, these different things that will make the experience easier on the dog. We let them run around in the yard. We throw a ball for them. We let them be in play groups. We let them lick peanut butter out of a Kong. These are things that make the dog feel better about being in the shelter. But it in no way helps the dog get adopted. And that's imperative to see. How much time do you want to spend on a dog making them comfortable in an environment they shouldn't be in versus how much time do you want to spend training that dog with a skill that's going to get them out? And this is what I always say to the people in the shelter, the volunteers. If somebody walks by, and this happened when Lewis and I did Bound Angels University, we saw so many people wanting to adopt those dogs because what people would see, they'd walk by the yard in the shelter and they would see dogs healing and dogs, sitting and dogs staying and dogs recalling and dogs having good manners around other dogs and learning skills that they really needed in order to get adopted. That's what increases adoptions. It's the public's perception. If the public goes by and sees a dog running around the yard, that's maybe not a dog that somebody's going to want to adopt or want to bring home, because that dog might not fit in. But if I can show a dog walking on a loose leash, sitting, downing, coming, staying, leaving things, anything like that, that shows a client or a potential adopter a dog that they're going to want to bring home. That's the dog they want to live with. I want that experience while that dog is in the shelter to be beneficial to them in later years, in a skill that they're going to need when they get out. So I stress shelters should be training dogs. Shelters should have behavior training in the shelter. They should do things like teach basic sit, stay, come. They should teach a nice loose leash walking, and they should teach dogs to be dog neutral. And you'll see that in my videos that I show on the Shelter Dog Adopt series. I always show the dog around another dog, right? I don't care if the dog's going to play with the other dog. That's irrelevant to me. My dogs don't play with any dogs except for their own, pack here. But they can walk by a dog on the street. They can walk by a dog on a sidewalk. They can walk by a dog in the park. That's the number one skill you're going to teach a dog, is to be dog neutral. And that's really, really critical. So that's why enrichment is less valuable than training, right? The more we need to the more we get these dogs adoptable, the more we teach them the skills they need to get out and stay out of the shelter. Even if that experience is not as pleasurable, right? It's probably much more pleasurable for the dog to go out there and just chase a ball than to sit down and have to learn, this is the behavior that I need to do. This is the behavior that I need to get out of here. I need to pay attention. I need to focus. I need to sit. I need to down. I need to stay. I need to come. I need to do this. I need to do that. That's going to get me a home, and that is going to save my life. The goal of our work should be to save lives. That's really, really critical. So I'm going to go into this section again on the wrong dogs. So often, shelters, volunteers, rescues focus on the wrong dogs. They focus on the dog that has bitten someone, the dog that has killed another dog, the dog that has attacked whatever. The problem is we feel sorry for the dog because we make a story around it. Well, why did that dog bite the child? Was the child poking the dog? Was the child, pulling his ears? Well, here's the problem. If you have two dogs, one dog bit a child because the child pulled on his ears, and another dog didn't bite a child. Well, we don't know that the child didn't pull on his ears. We don't know the child didn't poke that dog in the eye, but maybe that dog was nice enough to accept it. And in society, we live in a society, right? We don't live on farms anymore. We live in a society. And you'll see one thing I always do with dogs in shelters, I always grab their tails. Because a kid is going to do it. Not that they should do it, but there's two things going on. Either the parents aren't smart enough to teach the kids, or the parents are too stupid to teach the kids, right? In other words, they just go, well, the dog shouldn't do that. Let the child have experiences. These are the same people who let their dogs breed and, say the child needs to see the birth of a dog for it to be, whatever. We focus on the dogs that have issues. And all the while, there's dogs going out the back door of the shelter in buckets, in barrels, that have done nothing wrong. Puppies that have done nothing wrong. Dogs that have done nothing wrong are going out of the back of the shelter in barrels. And we've got these dogs with serious behavioral issues in the kennels, and we're trying to get them adopted, trying to get them to rescues. I want to focus on something that's really controversial, and that is the dangerous breeds. Recently, there have been some reports in England about these, XL American bullies killing people. And there are plenty of pit bulls that have killed people, Rottweilers, Mastiffs, probably some Shepherds that have killed people. The one thing we don't get into, and I always hear this, people say, well, dachshunds bite people. And I say, you're absolutely right. I bet you dachshunds bite people in a much larger proportion than Mastiffs. I wouldn't doubt that. But what we're looking at is not that the dog is biting, but the severity of the action, right? The severity of the action of an XL bully, of a Mastiff, of a Corso, of a German Shepherd, a Rottweiler, a Malinois biting is so much more severe and serious than the average small dog under, let's say, 30 pounds biting, that we must consider that. But we don't. We get lost. We take away all social responsibility. We say we're going to ban the dog. We say we're going to do this and do that, and it's the dog, it's the dog. And most of the times it is the dog. But we have no qualification to set up an owner and a dog for success, right? I can be the most idiotic person, and I can go online and find myself an XL bully, a Malinois, a pit bull, or whatever, and just buy it. I don't know how to train it, or I'm going to train it in a bad way. And when the dog messes up, we kill the dog. Right? We have no regulation to say, well, maybe if you have a dog that's over 35 pounds, maybe you just need to fill out some paperwork. Right? Maybe we need to just know that. I remember years ago, a guy was buying a Malinois, and he said, I went to this Malinois breeder, and they asked me for my home address. And I said, I'm not going to give you my home address. That's bull. I'm buying this dog. And I thought, man, you are the wrong person. I wouldn't sell you a dog in a million years. There should be some kind of a registry so we at least know who owns the dog. If that dog is, we have a registry for cars, right? I mean, I know your car is registered to you, but dogs aren't really theoretically registered, but we should know, hey, this is a 90-pound Mastiff. This is an 80-pound Shepherd. Okay, you need to fill out a basic paperwork. You should maybe a basic assessment, how to handle the dog, what kind of leash to walk the dog, where the dog should walk, should you keep the dog on a leash, some basic, a 10-question moron test. And if you can't pass the moron test, you don't get the dog. But we don't do that. And, look at who's selling these dogs. This is oftentimes not necessarily someone who loves dogs, but someone who is just making a buck. In Europe, now, as much as I have a lot of issues with the way things are going in Europe, the one thing they do have, and I know they have it for Malinois, and I know they have it for German Shepherds, they have the SV, the Schäferhundverein, and the DMC, the Deutsche Malinois Club. These organizations go through and give a stamp of approval on the dogs that can be bred. It's called a Körung. And the Körung tells you this dog can be bred, this dog can't be bred. And if it can't be bred and you breed it anyway, you don't get a stamp on the dog. Now, in this country, we have Malinois clubs and we have the AKC, which the AKC is absolutely useless, right? The AKC is making tens and hundreds of millions of dollars off registering every single dog. Any dog that's AKC and they breed together, all 10 of those puppies are AKC, the AKC gets $40 per dog or $20 per dog, whatever it is. It's hundreds of millions of dollars this organization makes without benefiting the dogs. It's a registry, but there should be dog clubs underneath the AKC that would say, okay, you're breeding a German Shepherd, which female, which male, okay, let's look back. And you'd have authorized representatives in certain cities that would say, okay, those dogs should be bred, yeah. And there's something based on that, and then breeders would be responsible. But none of that will happen because stupid people will continue to buy cheap dogs. And they'll keep breeding. So if I sell a dog for $500, $1,000, and I can get a litter of 10, and I can do that twice a year, that's $20,000, right? That's just money on the side. That's cash. That's not benefiting the dogs. And this is where I always say, regulation will not work in a big society, a big country like ours, for two reasons. One, there's too many people. And two, people are too stupid to understand the importance of a good dog. They would rather spend $500 at Craigslist or Facebook Marketplace or something to get a dog. And I don't know if Facebook is still allowing it, by the way. I'm maybe speaking out of line here. But they are buying these dogs for next to nothing. The breeder won't stand behind them. Janet's friend has a dog right now that's looking for a home. Breeder won't stand behind them. The dogs were confiscated from the breeder. And now the person who bought the dog is too high drive. Now they can't do it. And Janet and a friend of hers are trying to find a home for the dog. Why? It's not your job. I said to Janet, it's not my job. I'm not going to get involved in it. I didn't breed the dog. If you breed a dog, you're responsible for that dog. There you go. The bottom line is, if you breed a dog, that dog is in your name. You are responsible for that dog until the day it takes its last breath. That's the solution. You breed it, you own it. You don't just get to go dump it at a shelter and kill 4 other dogs or 2 other dogs so that we can take that dog in. Let's account for social responsibility. Let's hold people accountable for what they're doing and make the world a better place for dogs. So that's my spiel. That's it. I'm going to take questions now. Again, I'm going to go back and forth on the questions because I know there's a lot, and I apologize that I talked so long, but this is really an important topic. I hope you have question marks in front of your questions so that I can get to them. I thank you for listening too, by the way. If you haven't checked out my online dog training, robertcabral.com, it's something that I've made available because it helps people better understand their dog, give a better life to their dog. But it's also when people adopt a dog from the shelter through my program here in the West LA shelter, any one of those dogs on my page, my adopt page, I include a 1-year membership to my online training at robertcabral.com because I want to set people up for success, and training is the number one thing that will set them up for success. So, okay, so, I mean, these statements here, like, I don't disagree with you on this here. Hang on a second. This guy here, Motavo. 99% of AKC Shepherds are from a long line of bad German Shepherd genetics. You need to go FCI. Now, I don't disagree with what you're saying. Most AKC German Shepherds are crap, right? Most. I wouldn't say it's 99%. But FCI, you're going to go through the SV, and I saw a lot of the dogs from the SV recently. Although they're Kurung, they've got the Kurung, they're right. I still don't like the way they look. I don't like that sloping back. I'm going to get somebody on the podcast to talk about where they came from. I know where it came from. I've researched it and I've been told it, but I need somebody to really attest to it. There was a couple of brothers who were involved in the breeding, and they like this. And that the German Shepherd went from a really regal square breed to this sloping, weird-looking dog, which I'm just not a big fan of. So you should have SV papers, yes, 100%. Okay. Petco, what do you think I should be doing when I walk my dog down a path and a reactive dog walks the other way and starts barking and lunging at my dog? I think you got to keep walking, right? You can't train the other dog. You can only train your dog. That's really, really, really important. Okay, Andrea, I respect you, so I'm going to look at your question here. I've been volunteer for a mountain rescue for 5 years. Adopts are required to fill out applications. Dog master lifestyle. Yeah, no, listen, I'm not saying there are a lot of great rescues, Andrew. If I said all rescues, I definitely take that back. I know there are great rescues. The thing that sometimes rescues do that I have an issue with is they overprotect the dog. In other words, they go to this point. I knew a guy who lived in Malibu, him and his wife lived in a multi-million, probably like a $50 million home. They loved mini dachshunds. And they went to adopt the dachshund from the dachshund rescue, and they said, well, we can't give you the dog because you have a pool and stairs. And so they went out to the breeder and they just bought a dachshund. To them, the money didn't matter. They spent $5,000 on a dachshund. They could have donated $5,000 to a dachshund rescue. Rescues make the mistake of playing God, right? They get the dog out. Now they're going to spend all this time to make sure the home is overly perfect. And some are doing great work. There's tons of rescues doing amazing work, and I applaud them for it. But there are a few, just like the few shelters, that are screwing things up and that make it really, really hard for everybody else. They do. I got to say that. Let's see. I'm looking for questions. Okay, here's a super chat from Jack. They seem like sweethearts. Oh, Jojo and Kodo, thank you. By the way, thank you for supporting shelter dogs. That's all I can say. Thank you so much. I'm doing my best. Jojo and Kodo need homes. Please go to robertcabral.com/adopt, or just go to the main page under resource. You'll see adopt, and look at those dogs and share their stories. And you know what? Encourage trainers to do what I'm doing, to go into the shelters everywhere. Because all you ever see, on adoption videos, oh, look how cute Charlie is. Charlie needs a home. Oh, Charlie. What I'm doing is I'm going through and doing a behavior, observation on the dog. I want to see what's going on with the dog. Can I handle the dog? And then I see how trainable is the dog? What issues does the dog have? And that gives people an idea like, oh, I want to adopt a dog like that, right? I'm showing the potential of the dog, and that's something all trainers can do. Trainers have copied me for years. Here's a great place to copy me. I'd be so happy with it. Okay, Pet Prep Radio, your opinion on outrageous corporate vet costs that are driving people to relinquish or euthanize. Well, here's the thing. The vet industry, yeah, it has been taken over a lot by a lot of big corporations. There are still good vets. The vets I know, there's two things to this. One is, if you have a dog, you should have the financial wherewithal to take care of it, just like yourself, right? It's not somebody else's responsibility to take care of your dog. Now, if the vet care comes to a point where it's astronomical, the dog gets some kind of a cancer, and you can't treat the dog, you can humanely euthanize the dog, and it's a fair one, right? But the basic costs of, a spay neuter, a regular blood test, you should have that money. Now people say, oh, you're biased against poor people. No, I'm not. But you should be able to take care of yourself. You should have the wherewithal and the ability to take care of yourself. So, if there are outrageous costs out there, the market will drive that. Then you go to someplace else. Kelly says, do you believe high drive dogs go mad and become aggressive if not stimulated? It depends. It really does depend. You certainly see in the shelter dogs spinning and spinning and spinning out of control. If you have a high drive dog, especially a working line dog, and you don't work them, they start to break down. They need that stimulation. They need the mental and physical stimulation, which again is why I say people who are breeding these dogs should understand what they're breeding and where those dogs need to go. And there's not enough homes for those. I'm telling you that right now. There's tons of people who want a Malinois, and there's a lot of people who can handle a Malinois. I'm not the one who's saying, oh, only police departments and military should have Malinois. I'm not saying that. I think Andrea, you've had Malinois for years, and you're a very, very good handler and owner. I know that. We know each other. But there are certain people who are just not cut out for it. And they're a regal, beautiful breed. But it's maybe not the right dog if you can't get the dog out and stimulate and train the dog. So, yeah, it's really, really important. Let's see. I'm just looking for questions. If you guys put question marks in front of your questions, it's really easy for me to find them. If you don't, okay, CJ, do you also like cats? I like cats. Cats are okay. I wouldn't own one. Janet had cats when we first got together, and they were nice. What's this here? They're refusing to renew their contract at 8% increase in budget. Would you be interested in franchising your brand expertise? No, because I've been offered to handle shelters before, and it's not something that I'm interested in. I'm way too busy, and I'm at a point now where I'm trying to retire somewhat, so I can't do it. But I'm sure someone would, Let's see. Okay, this is an interesting one. I wish you guys put question marks if you want me to read it here. Rescues and shelters where I am are not open to a trainer coming in. They want their staff trainer only or their county hired trainer. Those jobs are highly gatekept. Yeah, so that's what happens, right? They have their little inns. They're doing things their way. And if it's working, I think it's fantastic. Like, I don't care what kind of trainer you are. If you're a trainer and it's working in a shelter and you're able to get these dogs out, I don't care if you're using clickers or e-collars. It's working, and I got no problem with it. That's the difference between trainers and media, influencers and stuff. Influencers have to have drama. They have to have something to talk about. I'm just worried about people training their dogs. If I knew dogs were trained, I'd be done. I don't need to put my stuff out there. This is great, Mike. Thank you for posting this. Yeah, if people are not financially able to take care of the dog, they shouldn't have the dog because it just puts another stress on them. It's really, really hard. It's really tough. I have a big issue with it. Okay, Magda, watching from UK, rescued Doberman last year. He is dominant, aggressive to other big male dogs. Do you know any good trainers that you could recommend in the UK? I would try Jamie Penrith. Jamie Penrith, I think, is a fantastic trainer in the UK, and I would really reach out to him. Looking for question marks, guys. By the way, if you haven't checked out my online training at robertcabral.com, please do so, Make sure you download the app. You can get it in the App Store or a Google Play Store. Great, great, great way. You don't even have to be a member. You can still access a lot of features by creating an account through the app and just using the app without being a member. And if you decide you want to become a member, you can join through Google Play or Apple. I can't say your name, but as a dog trainer for shelters, do you volunteer training or get paid for it? Everything I do with shelters is volunteer. For 15 years, I was there, helping develop programs, handle dogs. I go in now. I have a special agreement with the shelter where I can go in, take a dog out, show some training, create a video, and then what I'll do is maybe volunteers. I'll help them better understand that dog so they can get the dog better ready for adoption. But yeah, some people will hire you. I mean, I've had offers to be hired. I just don't want to do that. The reason I refuse to own a cat is the same reason I refuse to own a bird, a reptile, or a snake. It's just not my thing, right? I don't have to make an excuse for it, by the way. And by the way, yeah, defending the straw man, pet insurance is insane. It is the best thing you can do. And I recommend Trupanion. I've used Trupanion forever. If you use the link on my site, I think I can put a link here. Let me see if it's going to work. This link here. Oops, that didn't work. Do it again. Use that link to purchase Trupanion insurance. It's an amazing insurance. I've had it for years. It has saved my life. Janet has used it. We love it. So consider, if you use that link, disclosure, I get a small commission. So if you want to support my channel, use that link and I get a small commission for you signing up. But I'm telling you that not for the commission, but because I have had Trupanion on Goofy for more than 10 years and it has saved my life. Let's see what else. I'm going to go way up to the top here. Some of you hope you're still here. Here, XL bullies are to be banned despite not actually being a defined breed. So many other breeds will get picked up. Well, yes and no, right? So people always say, "Oh, pit bulls, it's not a defined breed." XL bully. Well, what is a really defined breed? You know, I can take a German Shepherd and say, "Well, it's a mix. It's got something else in it." I understand why they want to ban the dogs. I totally understand. If my daughter or my brother or sister got killed by an XL bully, I'd be the first one down there wanting to kill that dog myself and want them banned. No, will it work? No, I don't think it's going to work, right? They're going to ban e-collars. Look, we ban drugs, we ban firearms, we ban all these things. When we ban firearms, then law-abiding citizens don't get firearms. Criminals will still get firearms. If you ban XL bullies, then good people are going to say, well, I can't have one, they're banned. And the dirtbags on the street are still going to have them. Right? It's not about that. What you need to do is you need to put social responsibility. Oh, you own an XL bully, did something wrong? Well, you're going to go to jail for 10 years. Who bred the dog? They're going to jail for 10 years. Right? We're going to take your house, your car. We're going to really put some pressure on people. Social responsibility belongs on people, not on the dogs. That's critical to understand. Let's see here. I don't see many questions you guys have, so I don't know if I've really addressed everything, but I hope I did. A lot of conversations going on, which I really like to see. I like to see you guys talking in here and getting, and having a really good time and understanding things. Okay, Andrew, you've pissed off people with this question, and I'm going to love it then. No one can answer when they're begging for someone to foster a difficult and possibly dangerous dog. How many nice dogs have been killed as difficult dogs clawing? Yeah, that's exactly right, Andrea. 100%. Yeah, this is the triage. This is the triage. You're 100% right. I can foster 5 to 6 nice dogs a year, but a difficult dog can clog you down for years. Right. So if you have 5 dogs in your house and you're going to bring another dog in, and that dog is dangerous, you can't bring that dog in. And if you bring that dog in, now you're locked to not bringing any other dogs in. These are the dogs that we've got to get down to brass tacks. Find these dogs who are in the shelters, find these dogs who are in the rescues, and humanely euthanize them. Put them out of their misery. They're attacking dogs, they're attacking people, they're attacking cats, they're attacking this. Okay, if we get trainers who want to say, oh, I can fix them with an e-collar, or I can fix them with treats and clickers, Great. Then we're going to give you that dog. But that dog is now your responsibility to fix and rehome, because we don't have the time to put out this incredible fire, which you're talking about. Yeah, and you're right. The bleeding hearts have never been bitten and dragged down the ground by an unbalanced Malinois, Mastiff, Pit Bull, Shepherd, Rottweiler, or anything else. They're just out there spewing their nonsense, right? They're out there picking and choosing the dogs they're going to train and advocate for. The dogs they train, every time I see someone who's against balanced training, they immediately, only show dogs. There's a girl who's constantly attacking me online, and she constantly shows this like behavior with the dog she has, and she can't get a proper behavior out of it. And it's a really nice dog. So, there's a lot to be said about that. Thank you, Andrea. That's a really great point. If we go for this solution with dogs that have bitten, isn't that just going to end almost exclusively killing Malinois, German Shepherd, Rottie, Doberman, etc.? That's not a good way to look at it, in my opinion. Well, then what is the right way to look at it? Should we kill dogs that haven't done anything wrong? We've got to kill dogs. As long as stupid people keep buying dogs irresponsibly and unable to take care of them, as long as they keep doing that, dogs will end up in shelters, because we don't hold people socially responsible. We hold the animal responsible. A dog bites somebody and the dog goes to the shelter. Person goes on with their life. Maybe their insurance company has to pay something or whatever, but there's no pain on that person. The pain is on the victim, the person who got bit, or the dog who got bit or killed, and the dog that did it. Because people who have bigger dogs are not required to put training on the dog. What about if every single person who had a dog over 35 pounds needed to put a canine good citizen test on the dog? The dog must pass this dog. Look, you know how you have to smog check your car in California or some states in the United States. You have to get an inspection on your car, make sure the brakes work, make sure your windshield wipers work and the headlights work and all that stuff. Why isn't there a regulation that says, hey, your dog needs to pass 10 simple steps. I need to be able to pet it. I need to be able to walk it by another dog. I need to be able to leave it, and it should come to me when I call it. Those simple little things, especially a dog over 35, 45 pounds. If we had that, we'd do really well, right? We'd have really nicely balanced dogs. Okay, your dog didn't pass this. Okay, you have 6 weeks to get your dog into training and pass that. And I don't care what kind of training you put the dog in. You can put it in cookie training, e-collar training, whatever you want. But your dog must listen to you, or we can't give you the registration for the dog, right? And, what are we going to do with those dogs? Well, maybe those dogs are not cut out to live in society. Would you want a dog that can't be safe around children or little animals, around your child or your little animals? The answer is wholeheartedly no. But you're not held to that, right? In other words, you're saying, well, it's not fair to kill the dog. I know it's not fair to kill the dog. But it's not fair that that dog should kill a child or another dog. And that's where we stand. This is the stalemate. If we don't do what needs to be done to get these dogs to a position of compliance, obedience, and sociability, then we're going to kill everybody. Eyal, I'm glad you said that. That's very disappointing to me in Israel, this goes through, when you have, very left-wing leaning policies. I know the Israeli military doesn't use positive-only training, very sad. But the reason shelters do this, let me make this really clear to you guys, abundantly clear. The reason shelters have these regulations, like they only take these and these kind of trainers, they only do these and these kind of things, is because of social stigma, right? Look at how much social stigma is on anything nowadays. Somebody says something, I'm offended. Oh, shut that person's account down. Put them in Facebook jail. Oh, do this, do that. Everything. Oh, no. There's never any pressure. Right? So if you put a trainer in there who's going to pop a dog on a leash, give a dog a leash, an e-collar correction or something, and the dog might go, whoa, might get startled. Oh, people will say that's abuse. And then we got to shut that down. And then what are we going to do? The other day, somebody posted something, and This girl says, oh, we're going to protest that trainer. You should join us. I've never protested a trainer. That's the most idiotic thing I've ever heard in my life, protesting a trainer. I might not like a lot of trainers, but my life is way too fulfilled to stand outside with a stupid cardboard sign and protest them. What kind of an idiot do you think I am? This is ridiculous. Make people aware. Let them choose. I'll tell you, I know trainers. I've seen videos and I've been around. I've seen trainers do things that are very unethical. Now, I would stop them. But a lot of people standing there going, stupid. That's what you do. You stop stuff. You get in control. But it's terrible what you're seeing now. What's this, Mike? Okay, I know, Mike, you're in a shelter a lot. You volunteer at a shelter with 30 plus dogs 6 days a week. Tough, but choices need to be made. I only have time for 80%. Yeah. But you know what? You're helping those 80%. By walking by the other 20%, you're helping 80%. By being ambivalent, you're helping 0%. You're doing amazing work, Mike. I've known you for years. You've been to my courses. I respect you. You're doing a great job. Just keep that up and keep your eye on the ball and forget what people say. I don't care if it's here on social media. I get criticized. I call people out on it all the time. There's nobody who's done what I'm doing, that's criticizing me. There's people who've done what I'm doing who are still doing it, who are too busy to criticize me because they're doing the same thing. But all this nonsense, is crazy. I'm not going to go into any names of dog trainers and what's going on, but it's nonsense. It's complete nonsense. It's a freak show. I got one here. Let's see. 12-week-old male puppy not knowing a thing about parents, what to pay special attention to. He seems not interested in play or cuddle, but very focused during training, super smart. Well, you would want to know what lines the dog came from. Did he come from a herding line? Did he come from a working line? Did he come from a show line? Did he, what were the genetics of the parents? Was the dad very dominant? Was the mom very skittish? Those are all things you need to know. But I think you should just focus on the training. If you don't know, then you don't know. You don't know what you don't know. So it's time to train the dog. That's what you need to do. Yeah, I'm not going to post these things where it's mentioning other trainers. That's all. Okay, what's this here? I really try to look. I don't want to give any attention to other dog trainers who I disagree with. I have so many dog trainers who are my friends who are amazing, amazing people. Stoops, Larry, Oscar Mora, Frank Phillips, and the Peter Sherrick. The amazing Nino Drower, all these amazing people who are my friends who I love, and we're all on the same page. I'm not going. Robert Crow, it is not okay to pinch a non-aggressive dog in the flank to teach it to drop a ball in a single lesson. There's a reason why positive trainers will pose. But you know what? Here's the thing: is it that big of a deal? You know what I mean? Why are we making it that big of a deal? In other words, we're spending this time, I'm maybe pinching a dog or flanking a dog to drop a ball to teach in one. I agree it's wrong. I agree wholeheartedly it's wrong. I wouldn't do it. There's a lot of other ways to do it. But these trainers don't know, right? They don't know what they don't know. They don't have the skills that Steve Stoops, Frank Phillips has, right? They're not doing the work that Oscar Mora, that the Sherricks, that these other people are doing. They don't know. They're hacks. They're fancy. They got millions of followers. People follow them because they have millions of followers. It's a cult mentality. But it's not worth protesting it. It's not the end of the world. I've got a video of a guy who took a little puppy that nipped him and flung it over his back and smashed it on the ground and broke the dog's pelvis. Is it worth protesting that guy? No, it's worth getting that guy and teaching him a good lesson. That's what you do. Or you get them put in jail. But protesting with your little signs, your little chants outside, and, destroying the world, go vegan. It's bull. You're wasting precious time. Time is the greatest gift you have. Stop wasting it. That's my message for you. Time is the precious gift you have. Stop wasting it. Take your dog out. Get off social media. Get your information. Get your fix in the morning over your coffee. Then take your dog for a nice walk. Take your wife to a nice dinner or lunch. Do something nice for your husband. Make it a beautiful day. That's all from me, guys. God bless you. I'll see you in a couple of weeks. Check out my website, robertcorral.com, all my social media, YouTube, and Facebook and Instagram. And don't forget, the new dog training app is available in the Google Play Store and the Apple Store. Take care. God bless.